So okay guys, welcome back to Chess the Matthew. So this is a puzzle, and we shall see on this position now that after the black plays king h6, there is a mate in 9. And you can pause the video and find the correct answer on this puzzle. So we're back now. So after king h6 a black, the white here should play queen h3 to deliver a checkmate in 9, because for example after king g5 there is a simple queen takes g3 giving a check, and after queen h5 escaping to the check, but again there is a sacrifice move of rook 1 to e5 giving a check. The idea here is the black cannot capture that rook because after with a recapture with check, and after the king moves here there is a mate in g5. So after rook 1 to e5 check, the black here should cover the check to avoid any further checkmate, but after rook to g8, threatening to checkmate in 1 on the g5 square, and after queen g6 covering that idea, but there is queen h2 check, and after the move king g5 f4 giving a check. And again, if the black king here will move here in this position, but there is a simple check, and after a cover still there is a checkmate on the g5 square. And for example after f4 check, if the black here actually plays king to g4, and again there is an avoidable checkmate after rook takes g6 check, and after h takes g6, and after queen h6 threatening to mate in 1, and there's no real defense against the queen g5 checkmate. For example after d4 there is queen g5 checkmate. So going back on this position, after queen h3 here, the white actually wins here through resignation because he cannot afford to be checkmated after 9 moves on this position. So going back, for example, after on this position, this game was actually taken from the game between Yifan versus Caruana on Grenke Chess Classic 2017, in which Yifan here is playing white, and he opens up with e4, and Fabiano Caruana here is black and start with e5, and their opening battlefield here goes with a move up at f3, knight c6, bishop b5, knight f6, the Berlin defense, and Yifan here just castle on the king side, and after knight takes to e4, Yifan here chooses the variation of rook to e1 because he wants on this position a double bishop pair on the board. Because for example, if he tries d4, although there is a simple knight d6 attacking the bishop with a knight, but after bishop takes, pawn takes, d takes e5, knight f5, there is actually an immediate queen swap on the board, and after queen takes d8 check, king takes d8. Although the black king here cannot castle on this position, but the black here actually has a pair of bishop, while the white here has only one, and there's a lot of possibility and chances that the game will be drawn. So Yifan here chooses the rook e1 variation and the Ruy Lopez Berlin defense in the open variation, and after Caruana here plays knight d6 attacking the bishop, but the bishop here is actually untouchable after knight takes e5, because if the black here will grab that bishop, but there is knight takes to d6 winning the queen. So after knight takes to e5 in this position, Caruana here plays bishop e7 and preparing to grab now the undefended bishop on b5, but there is a rook f1 on this position. So this is the idea of the rook e1 variation, in which it maintains a double bishop pair on the board for white. So here Caruana plays kingside castling, and after d4 there is simple knight f5 with a double attack to the d4 pawn with only one defender. So Yifan here defend his pawn on d4, and again by retreating his knight it prevents any exchanges and maintaining a lot of pieces on the board, and again avoiding any drawish result because by maintaining some pieces on the board, it actually have some possibility for attacking chances in the future. So after d5, so Yifan here plays c3 with a lot of ideas, for example, this position, because after c3 it becomes c2 for the queen on this position, in which later on he can actually place queen to c2 and bishop to d3, attacking this knight with only one defender on the c8. And again, after knight to d2, later on, with two pieces on the board, he can actually now place c4 in the future to pressure now the d5, for example, on this position. So after bishop to d6 for Fabiano Caruana, Yifan here just again do with her ideas after knight b to d2, because after knight c7, trying to play c5 later on, or playing c6, and again with an idea to reroute his knight to g6 and have some idea to attack now the king side after knight h5, trying to have a swap of knights on the board. But after queen to c2, Yifan here maintain his idea by playing his c3 move. So after the move c6, Yifan here plays bishop to d3, trying to pressure this diagonal, although this knight has two defender versus two attacker and nothing to worry about it. But again, on this position, Caruana here plays g6, trying to defend his knight, and again, maybe he will try to reroute his bishop and place to bishop to d7 in the future. So after knight f1, Fabiano Caruana here plays f6 on this position, and again trying to defend his dark square on the board. But after f6, it actually weakens his king side on the board, with, for example, by having some c4 move in the future, opening this diagonal, and there is attacking chances for the white on this position. So after here, Yifan here plays h3 first, stopping in h5, or maybe he will try to develop his bishop. Maybe she will go to bishop to h2. And again, this h3 actually has a lot of ideas. Again, in the endgame, it is very useful because he can have a loop square on the h2. So after rook f7 for Fabiano Caruana, Yifan here plays bishop to d2. Again, completing his development by connecting her rooks on the board. And after bishop d7, rook to e2, Yifan here tries now to have some attacking ideas on the e file. For example, after connecting her rooks on the e file. And again, after rook to e2, Fabiano Caruana here actually commit a mistake after playing c5. Because after c5, it actually weakens now the left square on the board. And again, this pawn on d5 will be isolated. For example, after Yifan here grab now the pawn, and after d takes c5, bishop takes c5, and bishop to f4. And we shall see in this position now that the white here has actually a winning chances, having an active pieces on the board. And after rook to c8 for Fabiano Caruana, Yifan here is very consistent for his ideas after rook to e1, controlling now the d file and trying to attack now the black's position. And again, after g5, Fabiano Caruana here commits again another mistake by allowing his king side to be drawing after a pawn move, because after knight g3, a nice tactical shot, because it forced now some exchanges. If the black here grab the bishop, then there is knight takes to f5, and still this pawn was actually been ruined, and this king was actually later on exposed on his king side with an open g file. So after knight takes to g3 for Fabiano Caruana, there is simple bishop takes g3, and after a5, queen to d2, again trying to penetrate now the position by pressurizing this g5, with maybe she will go for knight takes to g5, and after this move, there is queen takes g5 on the board. But Fabiano Caruana here just play a4, having some queenside expulsion, but Yifan here defend the position with b4 with counter attack to the bishop, and after a pass pawn after a takes b3, Fabiano Caruana here defends his position with knight g6. But after h4, the idea of playing queen to d2 with this knight, again, it pressure now the g5. So after g takes h4, knight takes h4, knight takes h4, and bishop takes h4. We shall see on this position now that the black here is actually losing on this position because he actually has a tremendous weakness on his position by having isolated pawns on the board, and again his king is actually exposed on this open g file. And after some couple moves after queen f8 trying to defend his position, but there's just simple queen f4, bishop d6 attacking the queen, and after queen to d4 and rook to d8, again Yifan here tries now to attack the black's camp after rook to e3 with an idea of playing rook g3 check and trying to penetrate now the black's position. But after rook to e3, still Fabiano Caruana here is playing an inferior game after bishop to c8, just retreating his bishop rather than by playing bishop to c5 and try to be more active so that his position should not be passive by, for example, after bishop c8 of Fabiano Caruana. And again, Yifan here detected that the black here can actually place bishop to c5, so he plays b4, stopping any bishop to c5 idea. And after king g7, Fabiano Caruana here is actually waiting for Yifan to commit mistakes, but Yifan here is very consistent with his ideas and trying to exploit the weakness of the black's camp on his position by playing bishop to f5 with an idea of having a pressure on the e8 square. Here, Caruana here plays bishop c7 without worrying any real threat on the e8 square, but after rook to e8, queen d6, trying to have a check on the h2, but Yifan here defend first his position, and after queen b6, trying to have some queen trade, but Yifan here actually declined because she wants now to exploit the black's position, which is actually now in a state of inferior. And after bishop d7, we shall see in this position now that Yifan here has a huge attacking chances on the board, and first thing to do, she should have some exchanges to the bishop on the left square so that the white here can actually penetrate now to the left square. So after bishop takes d7 and rook d takes d7, but there is queen f5 penetrating now the position, because we shall see in this position now that the black here has actually a weakness on the light square on the board. So after bishop takes g3, Yifan here plays queen to g4 check, and after queen h6, just like in the puzzle, Yifan here plays queen h3, and on the 48th move, Caruana here resigned, and this is the game. So going back, for example, after e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5, knight f6, the Berlin defense on the Ruy Lopez opening, Yifan here chooses the variation of rook to e1, for example, after kingside casting, knight takes e4, and rook to e1, because she wants here a double bishop on the board. And after knight d6, knight takes e5, bishop e7, and on this position after c5, in which Fabiano Caruana here commits the first mistake to the board, Yifan here actually exploited that wrong move by playing some accurate move. For example, after d takes e5, bishop takes c5, bishop f4, rook c8, rook to a1 on the board. And later on, for example, after on this position, after queen to d3, in which, again, Fabiano Caruana here commits a mistake by playing bishop d6, surrendering his last square control on the board, because after bishop takes d7, rook takes, and queen f5, Fabiano Caruana here actually collapsed on this position because the queen now is ready to penetrate the position and attack now the black's king on the board. And after 40th move, after queen h3 check, Fabiano Caruana here resigned and Yifan here declared as the winner on the board. So that's all. I hope you enjoyed this video, and please don't forget to subscribe.